Today on Around Kansas, Deb gives us an update on events happening around the state. Next up, a little musical treat from the Diamond W Wranglers telling the story of the ghost riders in the sky using photos provided from viewers like you. On the front porch, we're talking about the first oil and gas in Kansas. Ron Wilson is back with another poem, and we end with the history of Coffeyville from our friend Michelle Martin.
Closed captioning brought to you by Ag Promo Source. Together we grow. Learn more at agpromosource.com.
Welcome to the Western Kansas Wildlife Travel Center, right here in my hometown of Oakley, Kansas. We're the front door of Western Kansas, located on 3 main highways, I-70, US 83, and US 40. And all those roads lead to history, beautiful scenery, and adventure, no matter which direction you go. We now have an Ihop. That brand that you've trusted up and down the road in all your travels is staffed with local folks, real people, just like you and me, and we're waiting on you to join us. So for fun, adventure, fuel up, fuel your body, and let's have some fun.
This segment brought to you by Kansas Corn. Learn more at kscorn.com.
Good Wednesday morning. I'm Deb Goodrich. Welcome to Around Kansas. Coming to you from Munchkin Land today because I'm babysitting, and I bet a lot of you are as well. And that reminds me, here's my Hayes Public Library coffee cup. Grandmama might have more than coffee in there today. A gift from Brandon Hines, so a shout out to Brandon and his kiddos who may be watching this morning. And another shout out for what a great job Brandon and Jeremy Gill and all the folks at the Hayes Public Library do. Even in these challenging times, they've got the doors open and serving the community and just doing lots of things to make life better during, like I said, what have been really challenging times for many of us. Well, I also want to give a shout out to our friends at Grass and Grain. I know I've mentioned this before, but I continue to be blown away by what a great job they do. Baxter Black. How cool is that? Jim Gray, and there is me on the other page. I wonder if Jim Gray reads my column. You think so? I should give him a quiz and find out. They have been doing this for decades, and they keep doing a good job bringing you news you can use and just all kinds of wonderful things going on in the ag community, and maybe some of the things that aren't so great that you need to be aware of too. But give them a shout and tell them that Deb sent you, and you can subscribe. I get it online too. I don't only get the hard copy, but I get it online. So it's a wonderful, wonderful service. We've got great events coming up. I've been telling you about in Western Kansas, and one more time because it's so important and we worked so hard on this. But our Harvesting the Plains comes up September 11th and 12th. And part of what we're doing as a fundraiser for the museum there, the Fort Wallace Museum, is a once-in-a-lifetime for a lot of folks buffalo hunt. So we are raffling a hunt up on Ken Clem's gorgeous place north of Goodland, and you get the gun, the reproduction Shiloh sharps to shoot the buffalo, you get the ammo, you get the skinning knife, you get a 4-night stay at the lodge, you get the meat, the mount, the hide, the skull, the whole shebang. You know, there's not a thing that's going to go to waste. So it's a pretty phenomenal learning experience. If you've wanted to see what life was like in the 19th century, by golly, this is a good way to find out. September 11th will be our student day, and we're going to have as many schools as we can accommodate come by and visit the Buffalo Hunter encampments. Wonderful opportunity to meet some of the best, most interesting, most knowledgeable people in the history community. And it is so, so, so important in light of our times to understand history and to love history and to study history. You don't have to become a historian. You know, whatever profession these kids go into, whether they're plumbers or bankers, they need to have an appreciation of history because they're the ones that'll be in charge of it in just a few years. So that's my soapbox this morning. Have a wonderful show for you today, so stay with us.
In 1821, a trade route was opened from Missouri in the United States across prairies and mountains to Mexico. In 2021, we will mark 200 years of epic conflicts and grand adventures, larger-than-life personalities, and sweeping landscapes. Join us on an historic journey. The Santa Fe Trail lives on.
Find us on social media or santafetrail.org.
Okay, looks like it's time for our tour. Welcome to the Fort Wallace Museum. Here at the museum, you're going to find some really interesting stuff, like our replica stagecoach from the Butterfield Overland Dispatch. We've got facades from the fort buildings. We've got an 1870s flag. There's a plesiosaur that was discovered locally. We've got the Ray pump organ collection. We're a little bitty place with a great big story, and we'd love to have you.
Highways 40, 83, and I-70 come together right here in Oakley. Roads that lead to businesses, to magnificent rock formations, to scenic vistas, to places where legends were made. Roads that lead us home. Discover Oakley, the gateway to western Kansas.
This segment brought to you by the Western Kansas Wildlife Travel Center in Oakley.
This next segment was so much fun. The Diamond W Wranglers have this killer version of Ghost Riders in the Sky, and I wanted to make a segment of that. And I thought, wouldn't it be awesome if we could put some of the incredible storm photos and cowboy and cow photos that we get from our viewers and illustrate this song? So I want to send a shout out to Roger Ringer, and he is our official winner of our photo contest. But you know what? Just because I can, I think there may be a couple more winners. So you watch our Facebook page and see who gets that honor. And thank you once again to the Diamond W Wranglers. When they were video, or when they were audio, doing the audio for this song, a real Kansas storm hit. So those are not sound effects. That's really a Kansas storm. How fitting is that? You're going to love this segment.
An old cowpoke went a-riding out one dark and windy day. He stopped to rest upon a ridge as he went along his way. When all at once a mighty herd of red-eyed cows he saw, tearing through the ragged sky and up a cloudy draw. Their brands were still on fire and their hooves were made of steel. Their horns were black and shiny and the hot breath they could feel. Above the fear within him as they thundered through the sky, till he saw the riders coming hard, and he heard their mournful cry. Yippee-yi-yi, Ghost riders in the sky. Their faces were gaunt, their eyes were blurred, their shirts were soaked with sweat. They're trying the best to catch that herd, but they ain't caught him yet. Well, they're bound to ride forever on that range up in the sky. Their horses snorting fire as they ride on, hear the cry. Yippee-yi-yi. Ghost riders in the sky. you heard one call his name. If you want to save your soul from the hell riding on this range, then cowboy, change your ways to the old willow shoe will ride, trying to catch the devil's herd all across this endless sky. Yippee-yi-yi.
Welcome to the Western Kansas Wildlife Travel Center, right here in my hometown of Oakley, Kansas. We're the front door of Western Kansas, located on 3 main highways, I-70, US 83, and US 40. And all those roads lead to history, beautiful scenery, and adventure, no matter which direction you go. We now have an Ihop. That brand that you've trusted up and down the road in all your travels is staffed with local folks, real people, just like you and me, and we're waiting on you to join us. So for fun, adventure, fuel up, fuel your body, and let's have some fun. Highways 40, 83, and I-70 come together right here in Oakley. Roads that lead to businesses, to magnificent rock formations, to scenic vistas, to places where legends were made. Roads that lead us home. Discover Oakley, the gateway to Western Kansas.
This segment brought to you by Bob Schwartz Financial. Values, commitment, transparency.
I'm visiting with Bill Copeland, Vice President of Crude Supplies for Coffeyville Resources, which is CVR Refining in Coffeyville, Kansas. We're talking about the very early years of the oil and gas industry in Kansas. Of course, in the Kansas and Oklahoma region, oil is in our DNA. It's part of our legacy. But a lot of us don't really understand how much of pioneers that those people early in the oil industry were. Crude the industry was, no pun intended.
Talk about Kansas. It picked up around the 1880s. There was drilling for natural gas. In Pale is a good example. They found natural gas and they helped to light up the town. They started to promote that. They tried to promote industry there from Kansas City because Pale was close to Kansas City. Iowa was another town that they just lit up the town with these early gas supplies, and they built smelters there that we talked about. Like they built these zinc smelters that would manufacture all the products that they'd used on the farms. Post the Civil War times in Kansas were quite a difficult period for people, and then post Civil War I think it was just people just trying to survive. They knew that there was these oil seeps on these different creeks in Kansas. There was interest, but it took a long time to get the investors and the equipment to drill for those. In the 1880s, when they began drilling, they only drilled for gas that could be piped to a town that was close by for the lighting and for the factories. If they did find oil, it would have to be put in a barrel. The only closest refinery was actually in Chicago. That limited the economics for oil exploration in Kansas.
Now, I'm sorry, when you say a barrel, are you talking a 55-gallon barrel?
Yes.
So that's where the barrel of oil comes from, is in the early days they shipped crude oil in barrels.
Were originally the whiskey barrels, and that standard is still used today when we talk about barrels of oil and around the world. That's where it all started.
So truly, they were trying to get natural gas. The oil, if you will, was a byproduct, probably not even all that welcome, from the fact that they had to barrel it and ship it all the way to Chicago. At some point, somebody figured out that we got to do something different.
Yes, that's right. So as that century continued on in the late 1890s, there was prominent oil sleep along the Verdigris River, which is near Neodesha, Kansas. And there was a gentleman by the name of William Mills. He wanted to drill for oil and gas at that location. Kyle, they were right on the banks of the river. We don't do that anymore, but they were very close to the banks of the river. He drilled a well with a cable tool rig to 830 feet. It took him 22 days. And if your listeners ever have time, in Bartlesville, there's an exact replica of a cable tool rig. I'm talking this correct height, size, dimension. It even works. They fired up for a community event. The Norman No. 1 was drilled in 1892 on the banks of the Verdigris River. It got its name from a local blacksmith named T.J. Norman. It was drilled in his backyard, actually in his garden along the banks of the river, and there's a museum there today commemorating that Norman No. 1. It sparked an oil boom when that was drilled, so there was quite a few wells drilled, but there was no market. That's when Standard Oil stepped in from Pennsylvania. They were based in Cleveland, Ohio, but their production was in Pennsylvania. They had a lot of money and power. They offered to build a refinery in this area in Neodesha. They actually bought out these original investors in the Norman No. 1 and built this refinery, the first refinery in Kansas. They started out, it was relatively small, about 500 barrels a day, but it grew as the area production started to grow. Standard Oil, they were very good at processing and refining oil and marketing products, and they had a lot of technical expertise to do it right and get clean, successful products to the farms.
I'm Bob Swartz, and I've devoted the last 43 years to helping Kansans reach their retirement goals and to protect the family farm. At Bob Swartz Financial, we believe everyone should be able to live the retirement they've always dreamed of. Our team of professionals can help you create an efficient strategy using a variety of investment vehicles to help you address your financial needs and your concerns. Bob Swartz Financial values commitment and transparency.
At Farm Credit, we partner with America's farmers who work hard each and every day to grow the food that we all enjoy. It's not an easy task, but it's an important one. Farm Credit is proud to work with farmers and ranchers, lending support in rural America.
Sure Crop Fertilizers was started by my father, Don Sherman, and my mother, Shirley Sherman. Family business that started in the 80s. We predominantly focus on plant nutrients and what we can do to give growers better responses with the fertilizer dollars that they do, and what we can do to make those things work better for the grower. We're based out of Seneca, Kansas. We work with growers in their soil analysis to figure out what they need, and then we can put those in a blend that gives them the best results, and so that we can deliver that direct to their farm so that they have those nutrients where they need them, when they need them, and so that they can apply them in a manner that's very efficient to them and works well in their planting systems and what they're doing. Sure Crop Fertilizers has been around for a long time. We always say we're big enough to take care of everything you need, but yet we're small enough to do it quickly. You can get a hold of us at 1-800-635-4743. Our website is surecropfertilizers.com, and you can always email me at Corey@surecropfertilizers.com, and with any questions you have, we'll be glad to answer it and work with you.
This segment brought to you by Santa Fe Trail Meats in Overbrook. Let us help feed your family.
True story about the trail drives of old that had to do with the way the chuck wagon cook would place the chuck wagon every night on the trail drive. And it got me thinking about some inspirational thoughts and the guidance we need from above. So this is a serious poem titled A Guide from Above. In the history of the West, in the days of old, from the era of cattle drives, a story is told. A chuck wagon accompanied the herd each day so the cowboys could have food along their way. But wherever it was they made camp for the night, the old cook was careful to do one thing just right. He'd look at the night sky from afar and place the wagon with the tongue pointing toward the North Star. Then every morning when daylight came, their northerly direction would be the same. And when they drove those cattle forth, they knew their direction would be true north. In modern life, our directions are sometimes unclear with demands and distractions from life and career. We have no chuck wagons or cattle drives, but there's lots of confusion in the things that we strive. So like the cowboys of old, let's do this just right and follow a heavenly guide every morning and night.
Next time you see a beautiful field of corn, reach out and thank the farmers who work tirelessly to raise corn for livestock feed, renewable fuels, and exports to feed a growing world population. The farmers on the Kansas Corn Commission work for Kansas Corn with grower-funded checkoff dollars that support foreign and domestic market development, research, promotion, and education to expand opportunities for Kansas farmers. To learn more, visit kscorn.com.
At Farm Credit, we partner with America's farmers who work hard each and every day to grow the food that we all enjoy. It's not an easy task, but it's an important one. Farm Credit is proud to work with farmers and ranchers, lending support in rural America.
ValleyVet.com is your one-stop shop for your every animal need. From prescription meds, vaccines, equipment, and more for the ranch to the show ring. Shop ValleyVet.com for fast shipping and great prices.
Valley Vet Supply.
This segment brought to you by Kansas Farm Bureau, the voice of agriculture. To join today or for more information, go to kfb.org or find us on Facebook and Twitter.
Michelle and I are all about the bling. This bling was a gift from her. Isn't that pretty? And since we haven't been able to go many places to share our bling, we're blinging you all out here. So I know she's got some cool bling this morning as she brings us another fantastic history story. Good morning, Michelle. Pretty cool bling.
Good morning, Deb, and good morning to all our viewers. When I lived in Southeast Kansas, I spent many happy hours on the road visiting towns and learning their history. Today, let's visit Coffeyville, the scene of an infamous bank robbery, and learn how history is preserved and shared.
Located along the Verdigris River in Montgomery County, the community of Coffeyville began in 1869 as a trading post that catered to the Osage and white settlers in the region. Colonel James A. Coffey oversaw the post. In 1871, the community got a shot in the arm when it became a stop on the Leavenworth, Lawrence, and Galveston Railroad. After the toss of a coin, the town was named Coffeyville in honor of Colonel Coffey and was chartered in 1873. The post-Civil War years saw Coffeyville grow. The railroad brought people, resources, and money to town. Cattle raising, agriculture, trade, and commerce flourished. The town's prosperity also brought those who wanted to make fast cash. On October 5, 1892, the Dalton Gang, Bob, Emmett, and Grat Dalton, along with Dick Broadwell and Bill Powers, rode into town looking to rob 2 banks in one day. The Daltons wore fake mustaches to disguise themselves. Unluckily for them, the disguises didn't work since they were trying to rob banks in their hometown. They underestimated the resilience of the townspeople who took up arms against them. By the end of the day, Bob and Grat Dalton and Broadwell and Powers lay dead, along with 4 men who defended the town. Marshall Connolly, Lucius Baldwin, George Cubine, and Charles Brown gave their lives to protect Coffeyville. Emmett Dalton, who survived, was shot over 20 times and spent time in federal prison for his misdeeds. Local photographers sold photos of the dead outlaws, and their clothing became macabre souvenirs. From 1890 to the early 19-teens, Coffeyville's population exploded 6-fold. Industries including glass and brick manufacturing, natural gas production, and petroleum extraction and refining brought additional prosperity to town. Coffeyville's streets boasted some of the most elaborate buildings in southeast Kansas. The town was also a seat of populist political activity in the late 19th century. William Alfred Peffer, a Union Civil War veteran, moved to Coffeyville in 1876 and became the editor of the Coffeyville Journal. While in Coffeyville, he launched his publication, The Kansas Farmer, in Coffeyville in 1881. Several notable individuals called Coffeyville their hometown, including Phil Ihop, Walter Johnson, Johnny Rutherford, Frank Wickware, and Wendell Wilkie. Today, visitors to Coffeyville can see vestiges of the town's past, from the Dalton Defenders Museum to the restored Condon National Bank, one of the Dalton's targets, the Brown Mansion, and the historic downtown. Coffeyville embraces its past and shares it with new generations of visitors to the region.
I hope you enjoyed learning more about Coffeyville and that you'll join me for another historical adventure somewhere around Kansas. See you next time.
Once again, thank you for sharing your Wednesday mornings with me. Love seeing you on Facebook. Love hearing from you and emails, just the letters. Really appreciate it. You all take care. I'll see you somewhere around Kansas.
Closed captioning brought to you by Ag Promo Source. Together we grow. Learn more at agpromosource.com.
In 1821, a trade route was opened from Missouri in the United States across prairies and mountains to Mexico. In 2021, we will mark 200 years of epic conflicts and grand adventures, larger-than-life personalities, and sweeping landscapes. Join us on an historic journey. The Santa Fe Trail lives on.
Find us on social media or santafetrail.org.
Okay, looks like it's time for our tour. Welcome to the Fort Wallace Museum. Here at the museum, you're going to find some really interesting stuff, like our replica stagecoach from the Butterfield Overland Dispatch. We've got facades from the fort buildings. We've got an 1870s flag. There's a plesiosaur that was discovered locally. We've got the Ray pump organ collection. We're a little bitty place with a great big story, and we'd love to have you.
ValleyVet.com is your one-stop shop for your every animal need, from prescription meds, vaccines, equipment, and more for the ranch to the show ring. Shop ValleyVet.com for fast shipping and great prices.
Valley Vet Supply.
Watch Ag AM in Kansas online at agamandkansas.com.